Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 215 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed an artist from Chico, California. Her name is Kennedy Jude. I got connected with Kennedy through my good friend and collaborator Tommy G. He actually sent me her information and said she was looking for shows to be featured on, and I was happy to have her on this week. She talked about, beginning in music around an early age, having experience in the choir, but it wasn't until recently, in the last few years, that she made that decision to pursue being an artist. She talked about, finding the right team for herself, helping push her brand and her vision through more, which I think is super awesome. She talked about, being from Chico, what she's learned, collaborating with different people in the city. She also talked about what she has planned for the next 5 or 6 months or so. She might have a new song coming out by the end of the year. She has more songs in the works as well. And she also talked about, just live performing and what she's learned from that. And as an artist who, is trying to get some experience under her belt with social media and all these different things that it takes to be an independent artist, I think what she's doing is super awesome. And I'm excited to see, what she's going to be doing in the years to come. So I want to thank Tommy again for connecting us. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome everyone to episode 215 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have a good friend of my buddy Tommy G out of Chico, California. Everybody, please welcome Kennedy Jude to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great. And like I said, thanks for getting in touch and, wanting to be on the show today. And we haven't had like a real interaction. I feel like we've been emailing back and forth. So this is kind of like our, first real conversation. Happy to have you here, like I said. And, we kind of have the guests give some background. How did you get into music initially? Like, how long have you been doing it? Just some basic info for those that might not know you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I've only been, trying to make music happen on a more professional basis for about the last year or so. But I've been singing since I was, probably a very small child. That's always been one of my favorite passions, one of my favorite skills to try and develop. And then I've been writing music. I think my first song was in 5th grade. It was called Sugar and Spice. It was terrible, and I was so proud of it. It's been a part of my life for a very long time, but I haven't started sharing it with other people until pretty recently.
Yeah, it's crazy you still remember the name, too.
Oh, so yeah, and some lyrics.
Oh, nice.
They're questionable.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like a core, like that core memory unlocked type situation where it's like it's always there, kind of ingrained in your memory. So that's pretty cool. And did you like begin in choir? Because I have a lot of people tell me like early on they started off doing like church choir or something like that initially. Was that like the same for you, or was it different?
I started in choir in middle school, and then I did choir through high school, including like an a cappella group that I helped lead, which was a lot of fun. But I would say before that, I would help sing at church as part of like the worship team up at the front that would like lead the hymns or the songs or whatever. And before that, I would just sing with my mom a lot.
Being able to have that experience too, when you're growing up and being able to kind of develop through that, I think is a big thing. And like I said, I've heard that from other artists, but it's great to hear everybody's like unique perspective as well. So definitely sounds like it's been involved in your life from the beginning, or at least like early on, which is super awesome. And you mentioned that, it wasn't until recently that you kind of made the decision to, do your own thing as an artist, perform, start putting out material. And I'm curious to know, was there like a single moment where you felt that like journey was beginning or starting, or you just kind of have evolved into that over time and now you feel like, because you had the years of experience, you're kind of ready to go now and ready to start, putting your voice out there more?
I think I've wanted to start putting and releasing my music and putting it out on platforms and performing my own music live for a few years now. I only started this last year because it felt like it was my first opportunity to. I work through a program at my school where I'm represented by students who are going into the music industry business. And who want to be, managers or agents or something of that capacity. There's a class called School of the Arts, or SOTA, in which they pick a local artist to represent. And I pitched myself to them, and I got a management team for this last year. So that's sort of been the catalyst for, starting this more professional journey.
Yeah. Nice. And it's great to have that too, and kind of have either a team or another individual that sees the potential in what you're doing as well. Which is, I think is super important to have. So congrats on that, because it's a big thing. It's a big step too. And as far as performing live, because I saw like in the one photo you sent me, I think you were playing piano in that, and it was probably during a performance. So talk about your experience with live performing, doing like solo acts or maybe opening for someone else. How has that gone up to this point for you?
It's been a little slow to start with. I've gotten to do a few performances this year with my own music, which has been really cool. I started out doing open mic nights over the past several years, and a couple of singer-songwriter competitions. I got runner-up, I think, one year, or an honorable mention for one of my songs. And that singer-songwriter competition is put on by the School of the Arts. And so that's how I got in contact with them about finding that, managerial representation. Yeah. And then this year, I've been able to perform on campus a little bit. I've been able to perform at some other events, their local events. There was another competition put on by our local, our campus radio, KCSC. And it was a competition where singers would sing a cover of a song that was about heartbreak, and then one that was a cover about love. And then it was sort of a bracket type situation where people got eliminated, and then we tried to narrow down a winner. That was really fun, and that was a great opportunity to collaborate with other local artists and also the local radio.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know if I got to ask, because I had Tommy on this show, I think in 2022 at some point, and we've obviously collaborated on music. I know him pretty well. But when he was on the show, I didn't ask him about Chico, because I know he's from there, and I know that he's involved in the local scene. So for you, like, how do you view the music scene where you're from? Because like you just said, you've done things where you've collaborated with others, you've been involved, in your college doing things like that. But how do you view the music scene, and kind of like, do you view like your place in the music scene in a certain way, or you just kind of do your own thing, and whoever wants to work and collaborate, you're kind of just open to it?
Yeah, I would say I'm very much a newbie in the music scene, both as a listener and a consumer of other people's music, and as a performer for Chico. I had an in with one local group called the Bella Locas. I did theater with several of their members. So that sort of was inspiring in that it made me feel like, it was possible for students to, get their own music out there, start doing live performances, start participating in the local music scene. They inspired me in a lot of ways. I would say I'm still working on networking in the local music scene. There are a lot of people that I still don't know. And the people who I have met, I don't know well yet.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new connections and, people who are interested in collaborating and interested in creating good music together. I think that's a really fun situation. there's a local singing group that I got invited to that I haven't been to yet that I'm really looking forward to participating in, because I think just making music together is such a joyful thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad music.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Well, I think the great thing too is that, you know, when you find those like-minded individuals too that you're able to collaborate with, it makes everything better. Because I think we do a lot of great things on our own as music makers, but then you're like when you meet the right person and you start working together, you're like, wow, we just unlocked a whole new thing that we both probably couldn't do on our own. You know what I mean? So, and I think it goes like even in whether you're live performing or you're, you know, working on things in the studio or wherever you're working on music at, kind of goes like hand in hand there. So it's great to hear that that is kind of the case for you, even though you said you're kind of just starting out with that you're already meeting people and already kind of moving the needle on that as well. And that also brings up a good question about, you know, collaborating online as well, because obviously we know that the online space has a lot of different people you can meet. Because I've met a lot of people. I've probably met more people online than where I'm from, which I assume where you're from probably has a lot more people that are in the creative space. I don't know. But, you know, how do you view online collaboration, meeting, networking, doing those things, and social media too? Like, are you utilizing those tools a lot currently, or is that something you're looking to do later down the line?
Online collaboration hasn't happened yet. I think that's like it's simultaneously interesting, like intriguing, and a little intimidating. Yeah. Strangers are scary, and I have a fear of talking to them, but I'm working on it. Yeah. Because I think there are a lot of like really cool people online who have a lot of awesome resources to share. There's so many creative people who are looking to collaborate and looking to create good art together. So I would really love to, you know, work up the courage to take advantage of that and participate in those opportunities as they arise. Social media has been a little bit of a learning curve. It's difficult. First of all, I think I underestimated how much time went into social media before starting out. So much time. Yeah. Even if you're trying to put out something subpar or like adequate, especially as a beginner, there's just really a learning curve that I figured would not exist for someone who like grew up in the digital generation. Like I've used social media my whole life. Yeah. But yeah, trying to market myself is a completely different skill as an artist than singing or songwriting, or just using social media as a casual user. So that's been something that I've been working through. And especially as a student, because the most time I have is during breaks. And even then I have summer classes, I'm working. I'm trying to figure out how to find that balance and like get on a schedule to hold myself accountable for posting regularly and for improving those skills, because I would really like to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the great thing too, though, even especially when you're at the beginning, is that you don't have to rush to do it either, which is great. And being able to find kind of what works for you eventually and get to that point is the best part. I think a lot of people get intimidated because they kind of look at either what the trends are or what they think they have to do, and they're like, well, I'm gonna have to conform or do something like that. But I think finding your unique voice in it is really what the superpower really is. So being able to do
Yeah.
that, and yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go is just take your time with it and like see what you can do. But even making the time, and that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is I was gonna say it on the music side, like how are you balancing music, school, plus everything else you have going on in life on the day to day? Like how has that been going for you recently, or have you found like keeping a schedule is good, or like what does that look like for you currently?
One thing that I've found that's helpful is to ask someone to give me an arbitrary due date if I need to get something done. I know my managers would help me out with that if they were asking me to like reach out to a local business to see if they had any opportunities for us, like a performance night.
Hmm.
I would say, awesome, I would love to do that. Give me a finite number of days to do it. Set a date. It can be any date, but give me a date to do that by, because that helps. I don't know. It feels like the panic of having a due date really helps me to instigate
Yeah.
the actual task.
Yeah.
Uh, Another thing is just like having network and having community and having people who are excited about doing projects together. It really has helped me to, have excitement and like maintain the momentum of my own projects.
Yeah.
Sort of a buddy system or an accountability or just doing a group project together and like having a friend record vocals and then I'll work on harmonies while they work on mixing the vocals. And yeah, it's hard to stay motivated, I would say, but I'm looking for more ways to do that. As for balancing work, school, music, personal life, I think that comes down to some pretty up-to-date scheduling, which is not always super up-to-date. I wrote down the wrong time for this interview, and I'm sorry. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's a matter of prioritizing the things that you want to prioritize, being realistic about how much time they're going to take. And I would say also it's a matter of always prioritizing food and sleep, because I think I used to want to do absolutely everything, and I would let my food, like my eating and my sleeping schedules suffer to try and get absolutely everything done in a day that I could. And that's just not a sustainable thing.
Yeah.
It made me crash really bad. So I'm a lot better at prioritizing those things and literally scheduling them. And the top of my to-do list is meal 1, meal 2, meal 3 every day. So I can keep myself accountable for taking care of myself, which will allow me to stay on top of other things too.
And that's where it starts too, because if we can't take care of ourselves and our bodies and things like that, we can't do any of the creative stuff at all. And I think we kind of get it mixed up sometimes. We think that we think we're machines, at the end of the day. It's like we can just wake up and do all these things and kind of ignore everything else. But yeah, prioritizing health is a huge thing. It definitely helps you avoid burnout as well. So it's great to hear that you've been able to find that balance. And I had a guy, I think he was probably a couple months ago on the show. When I asked him that question, he just said, "You just got to do your best. Like we all just got to do our best every day. That's all we can do." So yeah, I definitely love that. And is there anything that you're currently working on? Could be new songs, could be maybe you got something scheduled performance-wise coming up. Anything you want to let people know about that they should be on the lookout for? I know we're like halfway through the year at this point. So let's say the next like 6 months or so. What are you looking forward to?
Next 6 months, I am hoping to release. I know I have one song that's finished with production that I need to start marketing. So that should be coming out within the next few months as I get back on the social media grind and start promoting it a little. And so at least one song is coming out, but I would love to, continue growing my social media presence over the next 6 months. I would love to, I have like 4 songs on the back burner that are like, the vocals are recorded and some scratch chords, I think. So finishing production on those and getting those released is another thing that I'm hoping to get done. On a personal basis, I'm graduating this year, so that's also one of the priorities. Nice. So if things in the music realm have to not be as much of a priority for this next semester or so, that might have to happen. But this summer I'll try and be, right on top of social media and on top of getting production done and being in communication with my fellow artists.
Yeah. Well, early congratulations on that, because I know that's a big accomplishment. So congrats, and I'm excited for the new music whenever it does come out. So I'll definitely be checking that out for sure. And we're down to the last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every episode, more life-related ones. And the first one is, if you can go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
Oh, gosh. I'd be really little. I would probably just give myself a hug and just some encouragement. I had a really rough time in high school, and I'm definitely on my way out of it because I've really prioritized taking care of myself. But I got diagnosed with PTSD at 18. So I think I would give myself, some words of encouragement because it's something that I know I can get through because I am getting through it now, but it takes time and it takes effort and it's going to be hard. So I think I would just, offer myself the opportunity to, show myself that I can get through it.
Yeah.
And that I'll be okay on the other side.
Yeah. Love that. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music, life in general?
That's a great question. Career-wise, I'm hoping to teach. Music is sort of my side gig, my side job. So I'm hoping to be a biology teacher. So that probably means a little bit of the same schedule I have right now, where I'm a little more active during the breaks and a little less active during school years. But I would love to get into the local music scene wherever I end up. I would love to continue, producing and recording and writing music to release. I would. It's always been such a huge part of my life, and I hope to see that continuing, not only as a craft, but as a career that I'm marketing myself for.
Yeah. Awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom for the listeners today?
If you haven't taken care of your eating or your sleep today, go do that.
Yeah.
Go eat a meal or a snack and take a nap.
Yeah. Which I'm sure a lot of people listening to the show probably struggle with, especially as creatives. So, probably some of the better words of wisdom I've heard recently, for sure. So,
yeah.
Well, I gotta say thank you again so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it, and I'm glad that we got connected through Tommy. And I'll have to stay in touch with what you're doing and keep up the great work. And I think what you're doing is awesome. And I'll be on the lookout for the new music. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 215. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks everyone.